I'll never forget this day my world cracked open. I was sitting on the porch, just a regular morning on Sycamore Lane, birds chirping, coffee brewing from someone's kitchen down the block. I was checking my math homework, waiting for the school bus, when I heard the screech. 3 police cars' lights, flashing sirens off, pulled up right in front of our little brick house. I didn't even have time to stand up before doors flung open and boots started pounding up the walkway. "Marcus Taylor," an officer barked. "We have a warrant for your arrest." My dad came to the door holding a peanut butter sandwich he was still wrapping. His face, man. I remember that look. Not fear, just confusion. The kind where your heart drops because you know they've made a mistake, but it doesn't matter. He didn't resist. Just looked at me and said, "It's okay, kiddo. This is a misunderstanding. You remember what I taught you about truth?" I nodded, even though my throat was tight. "It always finds a way," I whispered. That was the last thing he said before they cuffed him and threw him in the back of a squad car. The school bus came and left. I never got on. For days I didn't speak. Not to my teacher, Miss Hampton, not to the counsellor, not even to the neighbours whispering over their fences like they didn't. No, my dad was the guy who fixed their cars for free, brought casseroles when someone passed, taught kids how to tie ties at the community centre. They said he stole $200,000 from the neighbourhood fund, that he embezzled it. Fraud, wire transfers, they said the evidence was overwhelming. But I knew better. See, what most folks didn't know was my dad used to study law. Before my mum died, before he got blacklisted by a firm for refusing to cover up some eviction scandal. He never finished the degree, but he didn't need to. He'd been teaching me the law since I was 7. Every night, bedtime stories weren't about princesses. They were about Thurgood Marshall, about real trials, real justice. We'd play court instead of tea party. He called it training for life. At first, everyone thought I was broken from the trauma. But truth is, I was preparing, studying, watching. And a week later, when the state tried to put me in foster care, I stood up in court and told the judge I'm my dad's lawyer. The courtroom went dead silent. I was 11, standing there in my school uniform, voice shaking, but I meant every word. Judge Monroe, this no-nonsense woman with eyes that could melt steel, leaned forward and said, "Excuse me, I'm representing my father's interest," I said. "Steady now. He taught me the law and I have evidence to present." The prosecutor, this smug guy named Ethan Vale, actually laughed. Said I was delusional, that I needed counselling. Judge Monroe didn't laugh. She called a recess, brought me and Miss Hampton into her chambers and said, "You can't represent him in criminal court, but I'm curious what you found." So I opened my backpack and laid out colour-coded folders, timelines, receipts, work orders, everything I'd dug through night after night. I showed her how the bank transfers happened at a time my dad was under a car at Joe's Auto. There was a security camera, a timestamp, witnesses. I showed her how the login credentials they claimed he used had been reset after he lost access. I even found the real beneficiary, a shell company tied to Vale's own wife. Judge Monroe just sat there flipping through the papers, her face unreadable. She finally said, "You've done more than most adults. I'm ordering a preliminary hearing to review this evidence," and just like that, the tide began to turn, but not without pushback. Vale came after us hard. Held a press conference calling me a coached child, accused my father of using me as a pawn. Next thing you know, social media's calling me brainwashed. Hashtags everywhere, #save Jasmine. Not in the good way. Then one day we got an anonymous email. A scared-sounding intern from Vale's office had seen my interview and said I want to help. He sent us emails, real ones. A thread where Vale literally said, "Frame Marcus Taylor. He knows too much." Then he disappeared. Days later, we found out he'd died. Car accident, they said. But we knew better. I remember looking at Miss Hampton and saying, "If we stop now, we're next." So we didn't stop. I went back to court this time with Judge Monroe officially allowing me to present as a concerned party. I laid it all out. Timeline, password changes, shell companies, even got a janitor from the municipal building to testify anonymously that it wasn't my dad in the office that night. Vale tried to shut it down. Said, and I was being used, and I looked him dead in the eye and said, "You're right, I am being used to tell the truth, and it's burning your whole house of lies to the ground." The courtroom exploded. Judge Monroe cleared her throat and said, "Charges against Marcus Taylor are dismissed immediately." My dad, he cried. I cried, but that wasn't the end. 3 days later, someone spray-painted liar on our door. Someone threw a brick through Miss Hampton's window, because even when you win, they want you scared. But you know what scared me more? Silence. So when a reporter asked me what was next, I said 6th grade. I've got a math test, but I wasn't done. We took everything we found, every document, every thread, and gave it to the feds. Turned out Vale was part of a bigger network. Judges, prosecutors, developers. 43 people were indicted. Vale serving life now, the stolen money recovered, the community centre rebuilt. They named the new playground after the intern who died helping us, Jordan Lewis. And me, I went back to being a kid. Sort of. Until another girl named Zoe came to me after school one day. Quiet, scared. My mum saw something at work, she said. Now they're threatening her. I looked at her, saw myself at 11, and said, "Tell me everything." Because truth is, we're never really done. Not as long as people in power think they can get away with hurting the rest of us. And if a little girl in braids can take on a system and win, what's your excuse? If you've ever seen someone get blamed for something they didn't do, if you've ever watched power abuse silence, drop a comment. Let's talk about it. Justice doesn't start in courtrooms. It starts in voices that refuse to stay quiet, just like mine, just like yours.